Hi everyone, and welcome to Flip the Deck Tarot. Today's pick a card reading is going to be all about your psychic abilities and spiritual gifts. So we're going to be looking into what psychic abilities you may have, what spiritual gifts you may have been given, and some of these gifts and abilities may be things that you are aware of already, gifts and abilities that you've already tapped into, and some of them may be things that you have not discovered quite yet. So it'll be fun to take a peek and see what kind of abilities and psychic gifts you have been given. We have 4 piles to choose from today, and we're going to use a bit of jewelry to help you make your selections. So in pile number 1, we have this antique amethyst ring. Get the camera to focus so you can get a good look at it. Pile number 2, we have this 2-finger key ring. In pile number 3, we have this black rose ring. And in pile number 4, we have another 2-finger ring. This one has some delicate little flowers, 3 flowers with little pearl details right in the center. Okay, so as always, take as much time as you need to make your selection. If you feel drawn to more than one of these piles, feel free to pick more than one, and pause the video on the close-ups if you want to look at the pieces of jewelry a little closer. I will have your timestamps down below in the description box, and I'm going to just jump in and get started with pile 1. Hi, number 1, if you picked the antique amethyst ring, this is going to be your reading all about your psychic gifts and abilities. So let's jump right in with your oracle cards first. I'm going to set your tarot cards to the side, and we're going to be looking at those here in a little bit. But let's look at what we have for you. So card number 1, we have the Land Between. We have Orphaned. Deep Replenishment, Retreat, Rest, Be Held. Dragonfly. And Cancer Energy. Okay. All right. Looking at this, it's really clear to me something is jumping out right away. You are actually someone who oftentimes feels like you are between 2 different worlds. So what this means is the veil for you is very, very thin. And what I mean by that is the veil between this earth realm, this earth plane, and planes and dimensions beyond the 3D is very thin for you. So how this manifests for you is you actually have the ability to communicate with souls that have crossed over. I don't want you to get freaked out if this isn't a skill that you want to develop. Don't feel any pressure to do that. But for a lot of you, you may have already felt some of these abilities being triggered. This may be something that you are well aware of and actually practice and have developed, but if not, this might just be something that you've kind of known in the back of your mind was an ability of yours, and at times it may have even been unwanted. So when I look at this, I see you as what I would call a bridge. You're kind of that area in between 2 different lands that brings them together. I think this image on this card kind of does the trick in explaining that. So we have these bridges here, and I would really describe you as the bridge itself. Some of you may be interested in mediumship, or maybe even practice and skilled in mediumship. I think this would come very naturally to you because you're able to sense the feelings and emotions of those around you, and that even extends into the spirit world. Okay, that can be kind of a lot for some of you, but your ability to communicate with spirits and to actually gain knowledge from other dimensions and other realms is is vast. You are naturally gifted when it comes to this. You may be someone who sees spirits, who knows you can communicate with spirits. You may have seen apparitions in the room, in the dark, and like sometimes people have these experiences where they've seen something that startled them. So this could be something that has happened to you. You've seen an image, you've seen a shadow. It happens a lot at night. Maybe you've had one of these experiences, and it could have freaked you out. It could have made you kind of push this ability, this gift to the side, because it can be quite scary. I think for you, spirits try to get your attention a lot. I'm not getting a sense that there's any negative entities around you, so please don't worry so much about that. I think it's more that your spirit guides, or maybe loved ones who have crossed over, do try to get your attention a lot of the time. And they might do that by appearing to you. They might do that by speaking to you. So it might be difficult for you to distinguish the thoughts, like your own thoughts, from maybe some of the voices of your spirit guides sometimes. I think what's most important here, and probably your biggest spiritual gift, is clairsentience. So you are actually someone who feels. You feel very deeply, you feel very emotionally, and you can pick up on energies through feeling. So this is actually the case for spirits and for humans that you're occupying space with. So this is where it can get a little bit tricky, because you're someone who picks up on the energy of others so easily that it can actually be draining sometimes. It can be kind of emotional and sad sometimes, depending on what the person's energy is. So it's definitely something to consider, that when you're in a room full of people, you're going to be able to pick up on sense and actually feel what they're feeling. I think that in that case, making sure that you have your energy protected and that you are kind of replenishing yourself. This card, Deep Replenishment, came up. So this is a definite sign that at times you need to take a little bit of a step back and kind of regroup, kind of replenish your energy, get in touch with your own energy again, because I think your energy can get a little bit mixed up with the energies of those around you at times. And I do think that with clairsentience, it's a little bit tricky for people sometimes, because feelings are even harder to distinguish than some of the other indications that we might get of sensing other energies. So when you just have a feeling come over you, it's very difficult to distinguish if that is your own feeling or someone else's feeling. So it is important for you to take time away from people and really get in touch with what your own energy is like, and what you're feeling, and just really kind of recenter yourself. Shielding your energy is also going to be really important for you. I wouldn't suggest shielding your energy so much so that you like lose your ability to sense things. But if it does become overwhelming for you, that could be something to consider, a little bit of energy shielding before you interact with people. So with this Orphaned card coming out, I am picking up on the fact that this gift that you have has made you at times feel like you don't fit in. It makes you feel like a little bit of an outsider sometimes, and I think that's just because balancing your energy and the energy of those around you, keeping your emotions in check when you feel everything so deeply, can be difficult for you. So you may have felt the desire to kind of pull back, pull away, and that makes you feel like a bit of an outsider. I think that because you are sitting in this place that's between two very different worlds, it can make you feel like you're not really sure which world you fit in. Do you fit into this 3D world, or do you fit into the other dimensions and elements that you're able to tap into? I think that's something that you may have questioned a lot. It's really important to figure out what nourishes you, because straddling two worlds can be really exhausting. So doing this exercise in replenishment, resting, and allowing yourself to to feel like you are held, to feel like you do belong, whether that's finding a group of people that can help you to feel that way, or if it's just having a sense of belonging in yourself as you take a little bit of time for yourself. I think this is a beautiful gift you've been given. I do see the struggle, though. I see that it can really drain your spirit, and it can leave you questioning a lot of things. With this dragonfly here, dragonflies for me are all about spirit. So I think that your connection to the spirit world is strong, is very, very strong. And I think that you have just an amazing clarity when it comes to sensing spirits, receiving messages from spirits, and maybe even in mediumship, like we were talking about. I think you are very gifted in that area. Dragonflies also make me think of fairies. So you may have a deep connection to the fae. You may just be drawn to maybe stories, imagery, movies that feature fairies. But beyond that, I think that you are someone who probably has a love for plants and gardening. So this might not be something that you've discovered, but maybe you've noticed that you feel a little bit more replenished or revitalized when you are in nature, when you are around a lot of vegetation. Maybe you even feel a special connection to trees. I know for some people, they can kind of feel like they can almost communicate with trees, especially very large, older trees. It's like you walk by them and they're kind of emanating a message. So you would definitely be somebody who would be able to pick up on that. So yeah, you might just feel drawn to plants. You might not know why. Maybe you like to keep plants in your house and just care for them, and you just think they're beautiful. But really, I think what it's doing for you is replenishing and nourishing your spirit. So that's one of the ways that you kind of combat the draining energy that takes place because of this clairsentience. If you have not picked up on that, and if you are someone who feels drained a lot of the time, especially after being in social situations, maybe try that. Maybe try incorporating a little bit more plant life into your life. Maybe just get a small plant and, keep it somewhere in your home, or spend more time outside, walk through a garden. So that's just something I think would really help you, and probably something you already know. There's actually a lot of wildlife and vegetation on this Cancer card. So that's interesting. We have the crab here as well, but it's all kind of incorporated into all of these flowers and stems and leaves. It's actually a very beautiful image, and I think that really speaks to this part of you that feels replenished and nourished around plants. So I think that you really may love to garden, and some of you may also love to cook. Kind of picking up on this, I'm really seeing you as quite a healer. So I think that what you are able to do quite naturally is tap into the feelings and emotions of those around you. And you really have such a caring heart and a caring spirit that what you want to do is bring balance to those around you. So you feel their emotions quite deeply. I think this orphaned card really illustrates it quite nicely. If someone was feeling deep sorrow, this is how you would feel inside. This is also a number 5, which is all about change and instability. So I think that can sometimes come up for you. It can be an abrupt change and can kind of throw you off balance when you're around someone, and then you start to pick up on their energy and you start to feel what they're feeling, and you might not know exactly why you're feeling that way. I think that when it comes to your method of healing people, you might be somebody who's into herbal medicine, into herbal remedies, or maybe just into cooking and feeding people to make them feel better, to make them feel like their spirit is being nourished. Or there might actually be medicinal properties in some of your preparations, whether that's actually a medicinal preparation or if it's just dinner. I think a lot of you connect through food and through plants, through herbal medicine and through natural remedies. I think that's your way of caring for people. You definitely have the gift of extreme empathy, And like we were talking about, that means that you're absorbing the energy of others and that you're feeling everything that they're feeling very deeply. This Cancer card with immerse on it, that's kind of what it's like for you. You immerse yourself in the energy of others. There's a very watery energy coming through here from all of your cards. Even this dragonfly, which is air energy, has this blue triangle behind it, and kind of makes me think of how dragonflies are drawn to the water and kind of hover right over the water. There's a deep emotional aspect to your energy and to the gifts that you've been given. You may be a water sign, but if you are not a water sun sign, you might have it somewhere else in your chart, or you might just be a deeply emotional person and just be a deeply feeling and empathetic person. I think you've also been given the gift of mercy, and that just really means that you are sensitive to those who are suffering. You might be someone who has suffered in the past. Maybe sometimes even in the present you feel like you are suffering, and I think it's just something you can really relate to the way that other people are feeling. And the most powerful thing that I'm getting off of your cards is really just the fact that you feel that so deeply, and then you want to help and you want to heal people, and I think that's really, really beautiful. So what we're going to do is take a look at your tarot cards to kind of figure out why this gift is a blessing, what might be challenging about this gift. We already talked about some of the challenges with balancing out your energy and kind of keeping your energy separate from the energy of those around you. And then we're going to look at how you can further develop this gift or these gifts. We've talked about several gifts here with you, actually. We had clairsentience come through. You may be gifted in mediumship. You are definitely gifted in feeling and sensing what others are feeling. You may be a healer at heart, and you might use herbs or plants or just any kind of food to heal people. And we talked about the gift of empathy and of mercy. So that's actually a lot of things going on here. So let's look at your tarot cards. So this first card is going to kind of show us why this gift is a blessing. And this can be to you or to others. So we have the Five of Emotions coming out. This is more water energy. This is cups energy. So it's kind of right in line with everything that we've been discussing. I think that really the reason that this gift is a blessing, and this is mainly a blessing to other people, although you may be able to exercise this ability in your own life. I think what happens as you are tapping into the energy of people and feeling what they're going through is you kind of assist people in like getting over things. So I think you end up feeling their emotions very deeply, but what you're really doing is assisting them in processing through those emotions and moving on. So it's almost like you hold a mirror up to people and situations, and you kind of show exactly what needs to be healed. And then I think in your case, you might take it even a step further to try to facilitate that healing in any way that you can, whether that's just holding space for people, just maybe having long conversations with them to help them process through their emotions. But I think what's really happening when you're doing this is you're helping them to kind of drop their emotions, drop the feelings, and be able to move forward. So you're really providing a space where you can validate the emotions of others, and you do that by feeling those emotions right along with them. And that really helps them to put things behind them and to move forward. And I think on the topic of mediumship, if that is an aspect of this this gifting that you would like to explore, if that's something that you already do explore, I think that this idea of processing and being able to move on translates very nicely into this idea of mediumship, because you are able to pick up on the feelings of others, and that extends to the spirit realm. And I think in some cases you're able to help spirits clear unresolved issues, unresolved emotions, so that they are able to move on and not continue to be tethered to the 3D. So this is a very important gift that you've been given, and there are a lot of ways you can use this gift, even if you choose to only kind of use this gift in a more 3D way, if you're not interested in communicating with spirits, or you just don't think that that part is speaking to you, you're definitely helping people to move on, to move forward, to process through emotions. I think most importantly, you're giving people and even spirits a voice. You're really validating them. You're bringing those emotions to the surface and letting them be aired out and processed. That is definitely a blessing. You are definitely a blessing to all the people around you. Anyone who comes in contact with you is blessed. We're going to move into the challenges, and we did already talk about it maybe being challenging for you to play that role. And I acknowledge that. It might be challenging for you to feel the emotions of others, but the blessing in this is that you are able to help so many people process and move forward with their lives. And maybe in the process of that, for some of you, maybe you kind of get an idea of how you can more easily process through these emotions and not hold on to those of others. Maybe even just process your own personal emotions more easily, the way you're able to help other people. So yeah, let's look at what might be challenging about this gift. Okay, we have the Three of Materials. So this is Pentacles energy. This is Earth energy. And I think really this might be exactly like what we were discussing. I think with this, because the Three of Pentacles talks about kind of collaboration and working together, I think really what's challenging for you is working with other people, is being near other people, being around large groups of people sometimes. And that's just because you are absorbing so much of their energy. It's not that you don't like people or that you don't like to be social. It's not that you can't have fun in social scenarios, but sometimes it can be draining for you. So it's really difficult for you to focus, to get anything done, to not feel overwhelmed and drained when you are in a social scenario. I think it's kind of hard to know whose energy you're feeling. Or you might go into a social situation and your energy just shifts, like just does a complete 180, and you're not sure why that happened. And that's because you're picking up on the energy of somebody around you, or sometimes a collection of energies around you. And it can be overwhelming, or it can feel uncomfortable because other people's emotions don't always fit, especially if they just come out of nowhere. It's just like somebody just threw a new outfit on us that isn't our size. And it's like, where did that come from? I wouldn't have picked this. I wouldn't have worn this. It doesn't match. It's like, it can be abrupt. It can be sudden. It can be jolting sometimes in social scenarios. So yeah, that can be a bit of a challenge for you. And now we're going to look at how you can develop this gift even more if you want to. And we have the Devil, number 15. Okay, that's really interesting energy. Okay, with the Devil card, I think what this is really saying is it's kind of a message to you to not expect instant gratification when you do try to develop this skill. So this might be something that you've known about in the past. Like you may have had a little bit of an inkling that you are gifted in these areas, that maybe you are clairsentient, that maybe you are a medium, maybe you are a really clear channel. And maybe you are picking up on the energies of others. You may have had an inkling, but then if you've done something to maybe research more about that, or practice and develop the skill, and it didn't seem like it went anywhere, then you kind of just give up and kind of shove that inkling aside. So the Devil energy can talk a lot about instant gratification and like searching for instant gratification over long-term success and something more solid. And I think that that's a little bit of a message from your guides, which honestly, I don't feel like I need to give you that many messages from your guides, because I think that you have the ability to tap into messages from your guides on your own. But really, I think this is a bit of a message to kind of stick with this and really put in the time to develop it if that's what you choose to do, because it's not going to happen instantly. You're not going to notice that you're taking huge leaps and bounds instantly. It's going to be something like more of a gradual process, something you have to develop like any skill. So I think it's really a message to not keep running away from it, to not keep kind of like thinking, oh, I'm no good. It would be like you sit down in front of a piano for the very first time and you try to play a song and it sounds terrible. So you decide, I suck at piano and I should never play again. You know, it's not going to work like that. It would take a lot of practicing. It would take daily practicing. It would take years of practice to reach the level that you want. And you'll see improvement if you stick with it and don't worry about sitting down and playing a beautiful piece right from the beginning when you have absolutely no knowledge and no skill in that area. This devil card could also be a little bit of a reminder that some dependencies that you may have might weaken your abilities. So if you do want to develop these abilities, if you do want to become a clearer channel, if you want to be able to connect with and tap into the feelings of others more easily, certain habits that you have in your life may be hindering that. So it might be something as simple as caffeine, like maybe drinking 5 cups of coffee a day kind of like puts you in a different state of mind and you're not able to tap in as easily, or you're more likely to become frustrated when you are hyped up on caffeine, or maybe when you drink a lot of alcohol, maybe that weakens your abilities to kind of tap in or to have clarity about what you're tapping into. So this can really talk about any sort of dependency. It can be alcohol, it can be drugs, it can be any kind of stimulant or depressant that you are familiar with taking or habitually taking that's kind of blocking your ability. It can also be dependencies in behavior too. It can be certain people that you hang around with that do not help to strengthen this. So it's a matter of looking at your habits, and most likely ones that you already know do not go in line with these abilities and don't strengthen these abilities. Some of these things you may have actually used to numb yourself because maybe the challenges of having this sort of ability become too much sometimes. So it might be something like, well, I like to have a drink or two when I go into a social situation because I can feel very uncomfortable in that social situation, and that helps me. So it might be something like that. And in that case, it's like, you know that it doesn't help this. That's in fact the reason that you participate in it, because you use it as a little bit of a way to numb yourself and to kind of to intentionally turn these abilities off. So it's probably something you already know, and this is just a reminder, if you did want to strengthen these abilities, what to kind of stay away from. And this is also a bit of a reminder to look on the bright side and to kind of realize how difficult it can be when you're sorting through so many different energies. So be a little bit positive. The devil card often kind of makes me realize that negative thought patterns don't help the situation. So if you are thinking very negatively about your gifts, or if you are only thinking about the negative aspects of the gifts that you've been given, this is a bit of a reminder to look on the brighter side of that and to really accept, acknowledge, and appreciate the abilities that you've been given, because they won't be strengthened by having kind of a negative outlook on them. So I think that's all I have for you, Group 1. This was actually really beautiful, and a lot of gifts and abilities came through for you. So I hope this was helpful and insightful. If you did enjoy this reading, please give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. And if you feel like subscribing, please do that. I would love to have you here. I will see you in your next reading. Bye. Hi, number 2. If you picked the key-shaped ring, this is going to be your reading all about your spiritual gifts and psychic abilities. So let's jump into your oracle cards. I'm going to put your tarot cards to the side and we'll look at those in a little bit. But let's see what we have for your oracle cards so I can get an idea of what kind of spiritual gifts and abilities you have been given. So we have exposed and revealed. Chaos and conflict. Interesting. Trust your path. If you knew you would be supported, what would you do? We have the octopus. This is water energy. And we have Taurus, cultivate. Okay. Okay, I'm going to... Yeah, it's really pretty obvious from looking at this that you have the gift of clairvoyance. So we can kind of get into that, but it is just so clear that that's what's going on here. And then there's a little more. There's a little more than being clairvoyant. So basically, clairvoyance is the gift of receiving messages through images or through scenes in your mind. So you have really clear sight, and it's actually a mental image or picture. So you may have noticed like getting kind of having the idea of how things are, what the truth of a situation is, or how a situation is going to play out. And you might find that you actually see that in your mind. You see things playing out the way that you are like you're getting an image of how it's going to play out. I think what's more than just the clairvoyance for you is actually that you also have the gift of discernment. So this is actually the gift of being able to kind of know what the truth is of any situation. And I think that these two gifts might work together for you. So it might be that you discover what the truth of a situation is through clairvoyant messages. But this is really like where this comes into play a lot is you can really tell when somebody is telling the truth or if they're lying. And I think that can be a little bit frustrating for you and for those around you at times, because it's like it's really difficult for you to let it go if you know that somebody isn't being honest with you. Beyond that gift of discernment, I'm also picking up on the gift of prophecy. So let's kind of it's all coming in so fast, so I'm going to try to keep this in a form where you can understand. But I feel like your spiritual gifts, that really your psychic ability is playing into a lot of the spiritual gifts that you have, and that there's a lot here, and they all kind of work together. So we have that clairvoyance as a really strong psychic ability that you have, and then you have these spiritual giftings. So you have discernment and you have prophecy, and I feel like this all works together to kind of give you an idea of how situations are going to play out. You can tell what the truth is. You can tell when someone's not being honest. And we have this chaos and conflict card here. So I think what the situation for you might be is that, for one thing, the truth is very important to you. Knowing the truth of any situation and getting the answers is very important to you. I think you're a very intellectual person. We have this octopus energy here, and we'll get to that. But you're very intellectual, and you're always thinking. Your mind is always going. So I think that like having the facts and the figures, which often translates into having the truth, knowing what's going on, I think that's something that's very, very important for you. And it's like it's a non-negotiable. I think sometimes this can cause some conflict. It can cause a little bit of upset around your relationships. So it might just be something that some people in your life don't appreciate all the time. Like they may love that you're intellectual, but they kind of hate that you'll call them out, that you're going to just like straight up to their face say, I don't believe you, you're lying, you're not telling the truth, and I know it. And you might not know how you know, but I think the reason that you do know is because you have these gifts of discernment, of prophecy, and beyond that, you have a clairvoyant ability. So you're actually able to see what the truth of the situation is. And I think putting all of this together for you might be a little bit difficult at times. You might not realize kind of what's taking place in your head, but you just know. You just know. You know what the truth is. This can be frustrating to people who don't like to be truthful, or don't like to confront their true selves or their honest selves. That can be a little frustrating because I feel like you don't hesitate to call people out. I think that also with this card being a number 33, you might feel particularly connected to your spirit guides, or your spirit guides might be trying really hard to connect with you if that's not a connection that you've made. So this can just be a sign, because the number 33 is all about ascended masters and kind of like messages and guidance from the spirit realm. So there's definitely a message coming through, that messages are trying to get through to you. So for some of you, that might be that messages are not successfully getting through to you, and you need to tune in a little bit more. And for others, that can be that you're getting messages all the time and you are receiving and responding to those messages. But this is just kind of a bit of a reminder to those of you that might need to tune in a little bit more. I think most of all, that your gift of discernment is helped and aided by your spirit guides. I think that some of why you're not exactly sure how you know what the truth is because you're getting information from your spirit guides. You are extremely connected to your guides. So we can jump over to this octopus now, because we were talking about this brain-centered energy, and that is, that's all you. Like, there's a lot of mental energy going on here. I do think that with this information that you're given, that you can often feel like you might be prying into other people's business, into other people's private lives, because you can see how situations are going to play out, and you might have information, you might have guidance, there might be some things that you want to bring to people's attention sometimes, but because you're not sure how or why you have this information, or how or why you feel the way that you do, you might hesitate to share information with people about how situations are going to play out, or about how you see the truth of the situation, and they might not see really what's going on. So I do think it can cause even more, like we're going back to this chaos and conflict card, it can cause a lot of conflict inside of you because you have information and you're not sure whether or not you want to share it. So definitely interesting energy here for you. I think there's a lot going on here, a lot focused around the eyes and the brain. So it's almost like all of this energy that I feel like it's focused around the eyes, almost like there's a screen that plays behind your eyes. So on the outside of your eyes, you have just the screen of life. You have the 3D world, what you are able to visualize in your life outside of your eyes. And then behind your eyes, you have a whole separate screen. You have a screen where you're seeing the truth of situations. You're maybe even seeing the future of situations at times. And I think it can be a little bit difficult for you to figure out how to kind of make sense of all of that, and what part of that you should share and what part of it you should keep to yourself. So with this, I do have to tell you that I think that another gift that you have here is the gift of visualization, which could maybe even make your gift of prophecy and your clairvoyant gift a little bit more confusing, because I think that you are highly gifted when it comes to visualizing, so much so that you might not be sure what's just your own imagination, your own visuals in your imagination, and what's actually like a message where you're kind of like seeing what is going to happen. But the reason that I bring this up is because you have this octopus energy here. The octopus always takes me back to the number 8. The number 8 always takes me back to manifestation. And I think about masterful manifesting when I think about the number 8. I think about infinite possibilities and infinite energy going into creating. So I would say that what I think is going on here is you are just so gifted in this in the brain area. Like there's something with your head that it's just, that's where your gifting really lies. So this comes into all sorts of visuals with your clear sight, and then also visualization when it comes to manifestation is key for you. So different people have different strengths when it comes to manifesting and how they bring manifestations into the 3D. For you, that is through visualizing. So that's through visualizing the outcome the way that you want it to be, because it really comes naturally to you to visualize. So this is something to keep in mind. This is your number one way to manifest, is seeing outcomes the way you want them. On the flip side of that, and maybe a little bit of a warning, is because you are so gifted at visualizing, seeing situations in a way that you didn't want them to go could be very detrimental to you. And that might be just a little bit of a note for you to make, because if you are someone who sits around and plays out scenes in your head of things you do not want to happen, I would advise that you stop doing that, because I think you have a real gifting when it comes to this. So when you catch yourself playing out a scene that you do not like, you wouldn't want for that scene to actually play out in your real life, just stop yourself. Don't be hard on yourself, because we all do it. Just kind of slow the car down, and put it in reverse real gradually and just switch that visual. Switch it so that the situation is playing out in a more beneficial way for you. Because I do think that's your sweet spot when it comes to manifesting. Visualization is everything, and I think you can really project things so quickly through your visualization that you might not even realize that you created it, because it happens so fast. There's no way you would even put the pieces together to know, like, hey, I just visualized that and that's why it's happening. You just kind of think you knew that it was going to happen. And as I'm explaining this to you, I'm like, dang, I feel kind of bad. I can see that this is confusing for you, because it's like you do receive clairvoyant messages. So you have a hard time distinguishing whether or not this is a thought that you had and a picture, a scene, like a movie that you played out in your mind, or if this is a clairvoyant message. So this really just comes down to harnessing that mental energy and being able to straighten it out. You might notice that you kind of feel the images differently, if that makes any sense. Like maybe they're coming from slightly different places of your brain or something, and that can help you distinguish. As I'm saying that, I'm realizing the way you are going to distinguish this is not because they're coming from different places of your brain. It's because your clairvoyant messages do not come from your brain at all. They actually, they're coming from a more intuitive place. They play on that screen though. They play on the same screen as you visualize on. And like, if this isn't making any sense to you, then this isn't your pile. Because I feel like for somebody who is experiencing this confusion, you'll know what I'm talking about. Because like, if you're visualizing, you're seeing it in your mind somewhere, you're seeing it in your mind's eye. And when you receive your clairvoyant messages, you're seeing those in your mind's eye as well. But the difference between the two is how they come into your brain. Your images that you are trying to visualize actually come from your brain. They're produced by your imagination, and your clairvoyant messages are coming from an intuitive place, but they're playing out on the same screen. So I hope that's a little bit of help to distinguish where those messages are coming from. You have this Trust Your Path card here, and really, everything we've been talking about, I do think requires a lot of trust. You're going to have to trust that the messages that you're receiving are the truth. I think you already do. I think when it comes to sharing those messages, it can get a little bit more tricky, but you know, because you can feel in your essence what is true and what will take place, what will play out. You already know this, but learning how to trust it fully can be a little bit of a challenge for you. And I think that because we were talking about you being so connected to your guides, I think this is really when you need to kind of trust your guides and trust your feelings about things. Trust that you are being guided in the right direction. Like we were talking about with this number 33 here, you're very connected to your guides, and they are very invested in getting messages through to you. So yeah, I think it's really, like, you need to trust this a little bit more. I can sense maybe a little bit of hesitation, especially when it comes to things that involve other people, where you might feel like you are kind of calling somebody out or you are prying into their life. I think you're going to bless a lot of people with the knowledge that you have, though. So it's important that you trust it enough that you can share it. We have this Taurus energy here. And yeah, I mean, the Taurus actually rules the neck and the voice. So I think that's exactly what we were just talking about. Trusting things enough that you're able to share them. So, yeah, it's a challenge that you have, whether you should speak up or not. And this is kind of saying, yeah, you should speak up more. You should share this stuff, share the visions that you have, share the truth of the matter when you know what it is. Go ahead and feel more comfortable to share that, to put that out there. Taurus also talks about, like with this cultivate energy, it talks about kind of like growing roots, digging in somewhere. So I think this might be a skill that you really want to kind of ground yourself in. Like maybe have a little bit more acceptance and kind of plant yourself there. Like commit to it, I think is the message here. Okay, let's look at your tarot cards. With the tarot cards, we're going to look at how your your gifts and abilities are a blessing, and that can be to you or others, how they are challenging, which we have touched on a little bit, and then how you can develop these gifts even more if you choose to. So let's look at how this is a blessing first. So we have number 10, the wheel. Okay. I think what this is really saying with the wheel, it's always about kind of matters out of your hands. It's about things happening without you having to do anything. And I think that what this is really saying is you have been blessed with it. The gift itself is the blessing. And the fact that you didn't have to really do anything to get this gift, to acquire this gift. Now, that's not to say that you won't have to work to develop this gift further. We're going to look into how you can do that, but it's really like just pointing out to you, this was naturally given to you. You're naturally gifted in this area. And that Spirit helps you. Spirit wants to help you. Spirit wants to connect with you. The fact that this card is laying right on top of the 33, where we were talking about Spirit being connected to you, it's just confirmation of that. You don't have to try that hard. You're naturally gifted here. The wheel's going to turn. Fate's going to kind of take this into its own hands, and you don't have to worry about it that much. So the gift itself is the blessing. Okay. And let's look at how this may be challenging for you. So we have the 5 of Inspiration. Okay, that's 5 of Wands energy. I think that this goes back to what we were talking about before. I think that you being able to see the truth of situations, and like I was saying before, sometimes call people on their shit. Like, I think sometimes it comes down to calling people on their shit. And I think that that can cause a lot of it's kind of going back to this chaos and conflict. It can cause a lot of conflict. The 5 of Wands is about conflict. It's about disagreements. It's about tension. And I think that this tension is not just tension that's outside of you, around the people, tension with the people around you. I think this is also tension inside of yourself around this topic, because there can be a little bit of hesitation or just an uncomfortable feeling when it comes to having this information and not knowing whether or not you trust it enough to share it. So yeah, I think this is just speaking to the challenge that kind of happens inside of you and also outside of you. That's kind of a big part of your reading, the chaos and conflict. It's right there front and center. This does cause it does cause some conflict around you sometimes. I think it's important to push through it. I know that can be like a little bit discouraging, but the truth is that the truth can hurt sometimes. And I think you're just so full of truth that some people aren't going to like it. I think that the people who you really want to be around are people who are interested in the truth themselves, and they're interested in being truthful and being authentic. They're not people who you'd have to call out. So if that means you have to switch up your circle a little bit, then that might be just what you need to do. But because, I mean, come on, you don't really want to be around people who are more interested in lying than telling the truth. And I just think that's an energy you can't really stand anyway. So probably one that you would gravitate away from naturally. Okay, let's look at how you can develop this gift even more. We have the Page of Materials in reverse. So this is Page of Pentacles energy, Earth energy, and it did show up in reverse. So I think what's happening here is really we're going back to this Taurus energy, and even the energy I was picking up on before I even realized that Taurus is about the voice, and that you do have a little bit of hesitation when it comes to sharing this. So the Page of Materials showing up in reverse really lets me know that this is something that you try to keep private. This is something that, bringing this out into the physical 3D world and making it a real thing is something that's a little bit challenging for you, and you struggle with it. So you want to keep this to yourself, but the way for you to develop this skill and to really nourish it is to bring it out into the world. It's to share your gifts with the world, and to trust it, and to not be afraid to speak up like we were talking about. What's really interesting about your gift is it feels like you are so naturally gifted at this, because none of your advice here had anything to do with you practicing. Now, I think it is something that you'll practice, because we practice at anything that we are doing for the first time, or we're doing it in a new way for the first time, we're going to practice at it. But I think that this really just touches on how naturally gifted you are when it comes to this clairvoyant gift that you've been given, and this gift of discernment and prophecy and visualization and communication with your guides. These things come so naturally to you that what your guides are telling you is to share it. Not to practice and develop and hide in a closet until it's perfectly ready to present to the world. They're saying share it, which really makes me think you must be ready in some way. There must be a level of readiness. You had the wheel come out, which we were talking about is just about being given the gift. You were just freely given the gift, and it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot that you need to do to develop it besides use it. Because when we use a muscle, the muscle grows. So really, I think that's what it is for you. I think you probably already know about all of this. You just might be in a place where you've been wanting to keep it to yourself, and you really need to share it to grow it. So if that's something you're interested in doing, if you're interested in developing this, then the best way is to let people know. Let people know what you think, and if you sense that a situation is off and that some truth needs to come out, let the truth come out, and just give this as a gift to the world. I think it's a gift that's been given to you, and it was a gift meant to be shared. So I think that's all I have for you, group 2. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you for letting me read your cards. This was a beautiful reading. If you did resonate with this reading, please give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below, and consider subscribing if you feel like it. I would love to have you here, and I'll see you in your next reading. Bye. Hi, number 3. If you picked the Black Rose ring, this is going to be your reading all about your psychic gifts and spiritual abilities. So let's jump right into your oracle cards. I'm going to take your tarot cards and set them off to the side. We will look at them in a little bit, but let's see what you have for your oracle cards. So we have Willing Release, A Change in the Wind. Okay, a lot of air energy coming out already. We have Pleiades, we have Double Mission, Channeling, and Uplifting Humanity. Butterfly, more air energy. And Leo, so some fire energy coming out at the end. Okay. Okay. Let's get into it. Let's talk about what your spiritual gifts and abilities are, because it is really jumping out to me, especially with all this air energy. What you are gifted in is clearing energy. You're gifted in clearing and transmuting energy. So what that means is you can kind of take like some funky energy and turn it into something more pleasant and more life-giving. And you do this really naturally. You're like an air purifier. You're like a walking air purifier. Odd image that just came to my mind, but that's what's coming to me for you. So I do want to talk about what the implications of this are. And this is sort of similar to what came through in group 1. It's different for many ways, but in the sense of how other people might utilize your gifts, I think that there is a similarity there, because when you are gifted in clearing energy and clearing spaces, people are drawn to you. And there's a reason that you're gifted in this. It's because your energy is so pure. And I think you're also drawn to and really like to be around a pure energy. It's like you can't really stand it if the energy around you is funky, if the people around you are in bad spirits, and if they're kind of just like oozing like a gross energy. That's just the only way I can think to describe it. It's not something that you will want to be around, so you're going to naturally clear and transmute. That means that people want to be around you. They want to be around the beautiful energy that you have to offer. They want you to clean up their mess for them a lot of the time. And that can be spiritually and physically some of the time, because a lot of times people who are like this have a way of kind of like prettying things up in many ways. So you might be somebody who can kind of like arrange things in a way that people like, or you can keep spaces clean, and people might come to you for that type of energy. But I think it's just important to note, because when you do this, a lot of times people are so drawn to you, they don't know why, but they're kind of like signing you up to do a job. And you might not have willingly committed to doing that job, but then here you are, like clearing space for everybody. And I think you kind of clear the space and you hold the space for people. Like a cleaner space, like a night. And I'm talking energetically. I don't mean like actual physical clutter. I mean energetically. Like maybe you come into a room and everybody in there is in a bad mood and arguing, and it's just a bad environment. You can feel it. Your presence in that room is going to like change the energy around. You're going to change it to something a little bit more light and uplifted, and something that people can actually stand to be in. I feel like for a lot of you, this comes up in your place of work. That it's maybe you've worked in toxic environments and you have been kind of like, it's not really, I want to say the bright light, but it's really not about that so much. It's like your presence is essential because you are like purifying the energy just by being there, which can be draining too. So we talked about that in pile 1. Like this kind of stuff can be draining. People, I don't think, intentionally mean to drain you. They don't know even why they're drawn to you, or why they think that whatever you're doing is essential, because they don't know what you're doing. But it's just that having you around makes them feel better. So make sure you feel good too. You can't always just be clearing energy for other people. You have to honor yourself sometimes too. So we'll get into that. We don't want to look at this as a negative thing necessarily. It's just that can be one of the things to look out for. And I want to warn you about that, because when you are naturally gifted in things like this, you have no idea what you're doing, and you have no idea in what ways people may be kind of taking advantage of what comes naturally to you. So we have this, a change in the wind card, and that's really what we've been discussing. And it's just interesting with these cards, even going on to these 2 cards too. There's so much air energy here. There's even a butterfly that showed up in this card, and then we have the butterfly card here. So there's a lot of air energy, and there's a lot of energy of transformation. And I think that really just talks about how you are able to change and transform the energy around you at any given time. This is actually a beautiful, beautiful gift to have. I think people around you feel at ease. I think you put situations at ease, and you make spaces beautiful for people, whether that is physically or energetically. It feels beautiful. It feels peaceful. It feels tranquil and serene when you are around. And you might be an air sign with all of this air energy, and you might kind of feel like you're like a breath of fresh air. Like when you come into a situation, like it's just a breath of fresh air. It's like springtime air. It's like something really fresh. Pleiades actually talks about really somebody who's called to express and to channel in very specific ways. So you might be somebody who's called to write or speak, or just channel, and you might channel through things that you write or things that you speak about. But there's a message that you are here to kind of bring to humanity. So I do want to kind of move on to the second thing that I'm picking up for you, is really you are some sort of light worker, which I know can be general, but this is a general reading. So you're basically somebody who's here to uplift humanity, like this card states. You're somebody that's here to pave new ways, new paths for creativity, for healing, for expansion. And so you're really here on an actual mission. Like, I think for a lot of you, you may have had that feeling like you're some sort of alien. like you're not really from here. You don't really get how people operate who are here, like having that, like, I'm not from Earth type of feeling to you. And that could kind of explain to you, like, you do come across as a light worker, and for some of you, even a star seed. So you're somebody who's been introduced into humanity, into society, to really uplift the collective. And there's a lot of wisdom that comes with that. So you might be somebody who just feels like you have wisdom and you have knowledge and you're not really sure how you have it. You might be somebody who really connects to the idea of having past lives, and you may have thought that might be why you possess so much wisdom around topics that maybe you don't even really have a lot of information about, but you just kind of have a feeling about how things are, and like deep spiritual concepts that just kind of come to you out of nowhere. They move to you easily, like all of this air energy in your reading. The butterfly really lets me know, again, you're here to bring change. You're here to transform. I think your message is, it's a little bit different than the ones so far, than group 1 and 2. It's different because it isn't quite as specific, and I think that's because it's a collective reading. So the missions that you're on are different for each of you, but the message is the same, that you are here to bring change. I think that really now, like, what's coming to me is that you know what your mission is. So I guess I don't need to be specific. That's what your guides are letting me know, that I don't need to tell you what the mission is because you already know what it is. And still I want to. So, so yeah, I think that the general parts of it you can probably relate to. The general parts are that you're here to uplift, that you kind of just have like a beautiful, clear energy about you, and that you take it with you wherever you go. So it really might not be something that you have to specifically do or try at. Your mission might not be like, I have to spread this particular knowledge. It really might be that you kind of uplift everywhere you go. But in doing that, you're bringing change and transformation to humanity as a whole, which sounds pretty epic. And you might think, how the heck am I doing that? But just know that every person you come in contact with is touched by this energy and this wisdom that you project. And every person is transformed by interacting with you. So that actually can have a huge ripple effect. So don't sell yourself short when it comes to your ability to make change and to transform. And if you are called to share some of your knowledge or just your energy with people through creative endeavors, through writing or speaking or channeling and sharing the messages, do that, because that is the way that you can impact even more people. Whoa, you guys, that's a lot. Okay. You do have Leo coming out at the end. And this is really, like the card says, shine. So I think really what this is telling me is that your gift is for the benefit of all, like we were talking about, really raising the vibration of humanity in general. And your message is to really let that out and shine, because you're here to benefit everyone. So we've talked about your ability to clear and transmute energy. This is your main spiritual gifting that I am picking up on here. And then we've also talked about the fact that for a lot of you, you probably resonate with the term light worker and or star seed. That's not necessarily a spiritual gifting, but it is something that is worth noting. So other gifts that I'm seeing come out here are, you have the gift of service, or the gift of serving. You are here to serve others. That doesn't mean you're a doormat, so please don't take it that way. You are just somebody who is so gifted in caring for other people, of making yourself, you're gifted in making yourself of service to people. And trust me, not everybody can do that, because not everybody is as selfless and giving as you are. So that's another main gift that is popping out to me. I think you also possess the gift of leadership. So this means you were a born leader and you were meant to light the way, and that can come in, kind of come into this whole idea of being a light worker too, and lighting the way. And I think, as we talked about before, also the gift of wisdom is coming out. I think you know things, and you're very tapped in spiritually, and maybe even in ways that you do not understand. And you might receive messages or just have knowledge that it's almost like you kind of remember before you came here, if that makes sense. It's like you have memories of things that took place before you were born, which then gives you knowledge that you can't understand why you have. Yeah. Yeah. If you know what I mean, then you'll know what I mean. Because I think this would be something that's kind of prevalent in your life, and maybe even an area of pause and questioning for you for many years, because you might just wonder, like, how do I know that? Or like you're struggling to remember something, struggling to remember past life or something, because you feel so drawn and connected to these certain energies and you don't really understand them. So that kind of explains it. Let's look at your tarot cards. We are going to use these tarot cards to tell us why this gift is a blessing, why it might be challenging, and how you can further develop it if you so choose. I think for you, I can get into this when we get there, but I'm just kind of picking up on this energy and feeling like how powerful and meaningful your gift is and your purpose here on earth. I don't know if this is something you really need to develop. It feels like something that you were born to do, like you were born specifically to do this. So we will look and see what the cards have to say. So why this gift is a blessing. We have the Knight of Inspiration. So this is Knight of Wands energy, very fiery energy. So drawing me back to that Leo energy. I think that really why this is a blessing was kind of what we touched on in the beginning of the reading. I was exploring with you some of the ways that this could be draining to you, or could be viewed more negatively, just so you'd kind of know like how people might be drawn to you, and really drawn to your ability to clear the energy for them. But the Knight of Inspiration really tells me that the reason that this is a blessing is because people are drawn to you. So it's probably a little bit of both. There's, if you don't watch it, if you don't watch yourself and watch your energy and care for yourself, it can be maybe a little bit too much. To be honest with you, I don't even see anything here that would suggest that you can't handle it. So I guess we haven't looked at your challenge yet, but it might be that you're just very well able to manage that, and you're able to clear in energy all the time and not become drained by it. So that could be the case. People are drawn to you, and this is why it's a blessing, because people are attracted to you, and that really levels up your area of impact. So I guess that's what we were talking about, like if you'll be able to make this great change, like how are you going to affect so many people? The way that you're able to is because you've got a certain charisma about you, and you've got a beautiful energy about you. So people are drawn to you, which means you will be able to impact more people than you might even realize. So you're able to reach a lot of people, and that's why this is a blessing. I think also the Knight of Inspiration really tells me that you're not afraid to kind of go down new paths, to pave new paths. So you're willing to enter unknown territories. You're willing to kind of get out of your comfort zone and pursue your destiny. I think this is something you feel. You kind of feel like your heart is being pulled in this direction, and you're not afraid to explore it. And you're motivated and you're enthusiastic about it. And so that is really a blessing to everyone around you. Let's look at how this gift may be a challenge with your next card. We have the Six of Materials in the reverse. Okay, so that's Six of Pentacles. The Six of Pentacles talks about generosity, and this card's coming out in reverse. So this might be the little bit of warning. I'm always getting ahead of myself, I guess. Like, I'm picking up on that and then thinking, well, maybe it's not even a thing. I think it is a thing. I don't think it means that you're going to necessarily be challenged by this, but I think it's a reminder just for you to take care of yourself, and to take care of yourself first. Like, not even just take care of yourself after you've cleared energy and uplifted everybody around you. Take care of yourself first so that your cup is running over and you're able to supply what you want to supply for those around you. You can give too much is what this Six of Materials in the reverse is saying, that it is possible for you to give too much and you have to kind of keep that in check. Don't share too much of yourself, and that you can become drained if you're constantly kind of clearing up and cleaning up for everyone around you, and that your relationships at times can maybe seem a little bit one-sided because you are doing so much and you care so much, and you're always having everyone else in mind, and maybe sometimes you feel like people aren't thinking of you in the process of all of this. So yeah, I was picking up on that in the beginning of the reading. Again, this doesn't mean that you have to face this challenge. It's just a reminder. It's kind of like showing you how this could go if you don't value yourself and care for yourself enough as you are pursuing this mission and this work that you're here to do. So yeah, put yourself first. Make sure you have everything you need before you start pouring out for other people. Okay, and your final tarot card is going to be how you can develop this more if you choose to do that. So you have the Two of Materials. This is Two of Pentacles energy. So more earth energy here. The Two of Pentacles talks about balance. It talks about kind of striking a balance. And I think for you, it's really more of that same message. I think that's striking a balance between caring for others and caring for yourself. I think sometimes maybe you can take on too much. You can take on too much of other people's energy. You can take on too much of other people's problems. And it can be a lot because you can see exactly what needs to be fixed. You can see exactly how things can be made better. So you just dive in to try to fix them and clean everything up. But it's a reminder to pace yourself so that you are not depleted, because you do tend to give a lot. It's really interesting because I questioned whether or not, after seeing your reading and seeing what your gift was, I was questioning whether or not you really need to develop this, because it feels like something that you were just born to do. And of course, like I was saying, there will be a little bit of development, but it feels like it's like you just came here to do this. And so I don't know what kind of advice I would be able to give you, but it's interesting. It's not actually advice in how to do what you do. I think you do what you do very naturally. I think your advice is really in taking care of yourself and finding balance while you're doing what you do. So really interesting. Pretty much the only way you can go wrong is if you drain yourself with this. I think you know what to do. It's basically the message here. You know exactly what to do. You know why you were not really brought here. You know why you chose to come here. You chose to come here to uplift humanity. You are definitely a light worker in every sense of the term. And you're like a joy to be around. Really, like, I think people are really drawn to your pure and calming energy. So I think that's all I have for you, group 3. If you enjoyed this reading, if any of it resonated, please leave me a thumbs up and a comment down below. And if you feel like subscribing, I would love for you to do that. I would love to have you here. And I'll see you in your next reading. Bye. Hi, number 4. If you picked this 3-flowered ring, this is going to be a reading all about your spiritual gifts and psychic abilities. So let's jump into your oracle cards. I'm going to set your tarot cards off to the side and we will be looking at them in a little bit. But let's see what we have here. So first we have a merry motive. It's kind of an interesting card to get. To be fair. Inner temple, devotion, tune into the portal of your heart. We have the rabbit, earth energy. And we have Venus. Okay. Okay. So, okay, looking at your oracle cards, what's coming through definitely for you is actually one gifting that showed up in another group. I feel like it showed up maybe in group 2, so it might be worth checking out. But you definitely have the gift of discernment. That is strong and very clear. So the gift of discernment is really, let's back up, because I do think that your gift of discernment is coming from a slightly different place than it was in group 2, but it is still a gift of discernment nevertheless. I think that what's happening here is that you definitely have the gift of clairaudience, and that ties into your gift of discernment. So we'll kind of like dig into that. Clairaudience is the ability to hear messages. So you hear messages like a voice in your head. Like all of these abilities, it can be a little bit challenging to figure out if the voice that you're hearing is a message or if it's just a thought that you're having. So that might be something that you've struggled with. You might hear things, and this is a way to know that you are getting a message. You might hear a particular number or a name in your head. I think that the messages that you receive are very quick, clear, and to the point. So it might just be like one word or just a couple of words, and it happens really fast. Very straightforward messages. And I think sometimes you don't even know what they mean. Like you might hear the name of someone and you're like, who is that? And so when that happens, just know that that really is a message that you are receiving from spirit, because it is not, it's not something you would have come up with. So that's really an indication, and that might be how you discovered that you are clairaudient, because you were hearing things that you wouldn't have just thought in your head, because there would be no reason for you to, because you don't know anybody with that name, or you don't even know what that sentence means. So that's a clear indication that these are messages that you're receiving from spirit. Okay. There's a lot of heart-centered energy in your reading, so I do want to kind of jump to that. If that is a jump, there is just something here pulling me towards the heart center. So you might be somebody who is extremely drawn to the matters of the heart, which can be matters of love. You might just find yourself drawn to the heart chakra, or just feeling like you feel a lot of your energy emanating from your heart. You might feel like you connect with people on a very heart level and a deep level. You might be drawn to colors that are associated with the heart chakra, like pink or green. This inner temple really talks about tuning into the portal of your heart. So yeah, there's a lot of messages coming through for you. And I'm going to do my best to decipher this, because I feel like your reading is not as straightforward as some of the other readings were. Okay. Let's move to this Venus card. Because Venus is really, Venus is associated with love. So this, again, this is talking about your heart. This is talking about your unique, your heart's unique path. And this also can speak to your creative process. So you might be a very creative person. It doesn't have to be that you're artistic in any way, but there is something creative about you. There's something that you strive to create in this world. And that can be a lot of things. That can have to do with having children. That can have to do with just the work that you do, whether it's seen as artistic or not. But this definitely points to a creative process. And it's really drawing my attention to think about the things that might attract you, or the things that you value, and also how you value yourself. And whenever we talk about valuing ourselves, we talk about how we value others. So that's something to keep in mind. I think too with this rabbit energy, I'm just going to kind of tell you why this heart energy is coming so strong. This rabbit energy, rabbit's hearts beat so super fast. And I think I'm being drawn again to this heart energy. And I am also being drawn to your clairaudient gifting with this rabbit here. Rabbit ears are really kind of a sign to me of clairaudience. And then also the gift of discernment is coming through really strong with the rabbit too. And paired with this heart energy, I think that really where your gift of discernment comes from is having to do with matters, true desires of the heart. You're able to discern true desires of the heart, and I think you're able to discern these for yourself and for others. So this Merry Motive card really talks about kind of getting into the reason that we do things. So that can be also the reason we are drawn to things, the reason we are attracted to things. So I definitely think that you pick up on messages clairaudiently about, is that a word? Through your clairaudience, I think you're able to pick up on messages that really resonate true to you, true to the heart, and true to the heart of other people. So if you are receiving messages and you're not really sure what they mean, really kind of keep that in mind. Is this something that speaks to the true, like the truth of what's in your heart, or the truth of what somebody that is close to you, what's in their heart? Because I think you often receive messages for people who are close to you. Okay. Also, with this Merry Motive card, I am picking up on the fact that you are very gifted when it comes to the magical arts. If this is something you've pursued in the past, then I guess you already know this, or you just know because you've been drawn to magic. But this is actually something that you're really gifted in. I think you're really gifted in directing your energy to bring about a certain outcome. So that's like casting a spell. It can sound a little bit mystical, but that's how we do magic. That's how we do everyday magic, is by directing our energy to get a certain outcome. So you may notice that like you may have already had your attention drawn to what kind of momentum your attention creates. So that can just be like you have already noticed that when you put your attention on something, you're able to change it without making any kind of effort. And that can be in magical and mystical ways, and it can also be in mundane ways. It can be just like things you've noticed in life. Like when I actually put my attention there, this situation changed or cleared up or moved forward the way that I wanted it to. So you may have already had a little bit of an inkling about this. It's basically things that you cause to happen with your mind is really where your ability lies. You're able to cause change with your mind. And I think that when you are really able to do this is when it's a true desire of yours. So that's going back to that heart energy that's coming through really with all three of these cards really strong. When it's a true desire of your heart, you are able to basically perform magical acts, whether you realize it or not. For some of you, you may have also noticed that you are gifted in telepathy. So you are actually able to transmit thoughts to other people. And I think that when you are able to do this the best is when it is something that is very, like a thought that's very strong and something that's really connected to your heart. So this is going back to this heart-centered energy. I think this is an ability that kind of, it feels like it comes and goes for you. It feels like it's a little bit spotty and like you've never been able to really nail it down and really figure out like what's going on for you. And the reason for that is because I think your abilities are really powered up when it comes to the energy being heart-centered, when it comes to being something that's very important and very near and dear to your heart. You are able to transmit thoughts to other people. And I feel like to go back into that that heart-centered energy, I think that it's almost like you're able to do this with people that you're also very connected to. And that might be another reason why it seems spotty, because you don't feel like you can do that with somebody that you don't have a connection with. So this might be like close friends or family. And you might have noticed this in other ways. Like maybe you have the lyrics of a song in your head and then your friend starts singing that same song, or your partner starts singing that same song. Your mom or, whoever you're close to starts singing the song and you're like, wait, did I sing that out loud? Or like, how are you singing that same song? You actually are able to send those thoughts, like you sent the lyrics to them. And so I think you often get the feeling like you're able to read people's minds, or like they are reading your mind. And it really is because of your spiritual giftings in this area of telepathy, you are able to do this. I think that it's something you need to work on and practice a little bit, because I think that the way that you're able to do this is with people that you are very close to, and especially about things that are very close to your heart. So it's almost like this deep heart connection that kind of amps up your ability to do that. But you might want to be able to do that in scenarios where you don't have a deep connection with people, so that would require more practice and more honing of the skill. Yeah, definitely with people you love, people you trust, you feel like you can read their mind, and you feel like they're reading your mind sometimes. I think that this "to be fair" card is also kind of drawing me back to this heart-centered energy. I think your heart really wants to connect with other people. Your heart wants that connection to feel like a balanced exchange. And this is really because I think this is your main way of connecting with people. So when you have felt like relationships are unbalanced, it can be really bothersome to you, because you want to connect through that heart center, and you want it to be very balanced. Like we have here, see, she's balancing out these scales. So you want that heart-centered energy and that beautiful connection that you share with people to be very balanced. And I can kind of see why, because you share such a close connection that you're actually able to send messages to those that you're close to. So it's important for you to actually connect in a real way to those around you. What else? I feel like that might be, like, I want to look at your tarot cards, but I want to make sure that I covered everything here and that it kind of got through. So because it was a little bit confusing, to be honest, first looking at this. I'm like, what is going on here? But it's definitely your main gift is in clairaudience. So you really do, you hear things. And I think for a lot of you, this example of song lyrics is coming through really strong. So it's like, it's repeating. The message is repeating. So it's not just the example of like you had a song in your head and then someone starts singing it out loud, but it's also like, you hear messages that are meant for you or for those who are close to you, and you might hear them in the form of song lyrics. Like they tell the story of like what message needs to be received for that person. So that might be something you didn't realize was happening. You might think that songs just randomly pop into your head, or maybe sometimes you even receive song lyrics and don't know that they're song lyrics. So if you hear a message clearly, look it up, because you might be directed somewhere that can really help give you a more clear message than you were getting. I am getting that for some of you. You've received messages and you don't know what they mean, but really it's because they come from a song. They are lyrics from a song. Okay, so yeah, clairaudient, super magical. Like I think that what you're able to do just with your mind is kind of amazing, and this gift of telepathy is really, really strong with you. Really strong. So we're going to look at your tarot cards. Your first tarot card is going to tell us why this gift is a blessing to you and to others. And the second card will talk about why this gift is a challenge, or how it can be challenging for you. And then the third card will tell us how you can develop this skill more if you would like to. So let's look at how this is a blessing. So we have the Hierophant. This is number 5. Okay. One thing that's jumping out to me that I think is kind of interesting is Venus actually rules over Taurus and Libra. And the Hierophant, this is Taurus energy. So there is strong Taurus energy coming through here. I think maybe Taurus showed up in another reading. I think group 2. And I feel like that's the second time I told you about group 2. So there really might be a message for you in group 2 as well, because we had Taurus energy there. And I think Taurus energy is coming through strong for you here as well. I think that I think this is really, again, talking about kind of your unique giftings and the unique yearnings of your heart. I think there's also this feeling of like you having the key or you having the answer. Bear with me, this is coming through a little bit muddled. Your whole reading is sort of like that. And so I might be picking up on your energy of like confusion around these giftings, because I think it can get pretty darn confusing for you, like hearing things and not knowing what is your thought, and not knowing if you sent that thought to someone else or if they picked up on it from you. Like, I think it's just a lot of confusion here. But there really is a message of you having the key and you having the answer. And I think what we're getting here is that the heart is the answer. You know the answer in your heart. I don't know if you're looking for an answer, if you're looking for an answer about this. I will say that beyond this message that's coming through about the answer, and that might just be for some of you that are actually questioning something, that are looking for an answer, and it's really coming through as the heart is the answer, so you know it in your heart, and it comes down to your true desires of the heart. But also, the Hierophant coming through as the blessing here is really, I think that you have established yourself, or you are going to establish yourself as a teacher in this more heart-centered approach. So I think that those around you kind of look to you for guidance of how to follow your heart and how to move forward with a heart-centered approach. So this is something that you're kind of establishing yourself as a bit of an expert with, and I think you're going to be able to help a lot of people connect to their own heart and to connect on a heart level as you kind of share your truth and share this ability that you have. Because I think what you have is really discernment when it comes to your true desires and the true desires of other people. So I think you might be able to help people figure out where they want to go, where they truly want to go, like dropping all of the expectations and the requirements and really getting in touch with who they are at a heart level. I think you're gifted when it comes to that. And you might just be exploring that gifting right now for yourself and kind of figuring out how to follow your own heart. As you do that, you're going to establish yourself as an expert kind of in this field, in this area. So that, I mean, yeah, that's great energy, powerful energy. It really makes me feel that you have this more figured out than you think you do. I think all of that confusing energy is like really my indication that you don't think you have this figured out at all. But now we're seeing this, and you're showing up as the teacher. You're showing up as the expert. You're showing up as the person who's like holding the book of knowledge. So you're not as confused as you think you are, and you are going to sort through a lot of that confusion about your gifts. And actually end up being kind of like a leader, being an authority in this regard. So now we'll look at how this gift can be challenging to you. We have the Eight of Emotions showing up in reverse. So this is Eight of Cups energy in reverse. I think the reason that this is a little bit challenging is because of all this heart-centered energy. I think this heart-centered energy causes you to have to be tapped in to your emotions all the time. And that might have been an uncomfortable place for you to be at times, because it can be really raw to be in that emotional place all the time. And I think you also are tapping into the emotions of other people, which can be kind of a challenge of its own. A lot of you may have kind of hidden from your emotions, especially if you have a lot of pain in your past. This might not have been a comfortable place for you to venture at all. I think what's happening here is that you're actually coming back to your emotions, and that's why this Eight of Emotions is showing up in reverse. Because I think that although this might be a part of you that you kind of shoved away because it was very uncomfortable, I think it's like you're now able to reconcile these energies a little bit better, and you're now coming back to tuning in and tapping into your emotions, which really talks about tapping into your heart center, like we've been discussing. So I think really you venturing back to your emotional self and not being afraid of your emotions anymore is what's going to help to turn all of this on. But it's almost like this was a past challenge, or this is a challenge that is going to be a thing of the past, because in the past, your challenge was that you didn't want to look at your emotions. And in order to really explore the area that you're gifted in, it's an area you have to look at. So that can be really hard. I think it's hard for you to listen to your intuition, but I do think that this being in reverse means that you're learning how to listen to your intuition. Your intuition is like right in line with your emotions. So if you have your emotions turned off, you probably aren't feeling your most intuitive either. Let's look at how you can develop this ability if you want to. We have the 10 of emotions. So more emotions. This is 10 of Cups energy. 10 of Cups talks about sharing with others. Again, I think group 2 got a similar message in this area. I think that the more you share with people, the more connection you make. It's almost like this is like a completely beneficial arrangement here. You share, you teach people how to connect to their heart. You connect more to your heart. You become more connected because they connected. You know, it's like it keeps building on each other. It's like a snowball effect, or it keeps building on itself. I think it creates a lot of joy for you and for those around you as you share and as you teach people how to do this. And if you don't feel like you're in the position of being a teacher, don't take it so literally. A lot of times we teach people who are close to us just by doing whatever it is that we're doing. So this could be a matter of like, as people see you start to lead with your heart and kind of follow your heart and listen to the intuitive messages that you're receiving, and tune in and tap into your natural giftings and abilities, they're just going to be inspired to do that. So you're sort of just a teacher because you paved the way for yourself. This message really here with this 10 of Cups energy is a message to follow your heart and to follow your intuition, which is exactly what this entire reading has been saying. And just knowing that your heart is going to be expanded more and more as you share. And then the clarity about what is driving you and what is true to you in your heart is going to become even stronger. And that just that lights you up even more. It just drives you and it makes you connect with more people. So yeah, it's your reading was probably the most difficult to decipher. I think there's a lot going on here, and that's why. I think that you actually are extremely gifted in a lot of different areas, and you use your giftings a little bit differently than like would be expected. Like you use your clairaudient gifting in a way that's so connected to heart center that like that's totally unique to you. That's not just something that like everybody has going on. So really, really interesting. And I think you're really connected with people because of your gift. Your gifts really have to do with you making connections to people, connecting on a deep level, connecting on a heart level, on a true emotional level. And you use your like your gifts of telepathy and of clairaudience to connect. So there's definitely like a feeling of community here with this. Very, very interesting. I think that's all I have for you, group 4. If you enjoyed your reading, please leave me a thumbs up and a comment down below. And if you feel like subscribing, please do. I would love to have you here. I will see you in your next reading. Bye.